Okay, so I guess I think we can get started now, maybe. Unless anybody's having problems, then please do write that in chat so we can fix that. But otherwise, I think we can just get started now. So I've prepared a little bit of a presentation. Here it is. And we also have the slides for you as a link that we will share later on. So if you want to read anything again or anything was unclear, you can just look at it again. And there will also be a little bit more topics that we won't be able to cover in this session. If you want to explore them on your own, you are welcome, very welcome to do so. Okay, so the first thing we should probably think about when we want to learn how to program is what really is a program. That might sound like a bit of a stupid question, but I think it's important to think about it a bit. Because a program, when you think about a program, is something that gets executed, something that the computer does. And the things that a computer does is basically a set of instructions, and those are usually given in some form of a text. And exactly, what we have is a text that just gets executed line by line, one after another. But the computer can only execute very specific instructions because it's a rather stupid machine. Like, you can't just like speak to your computer like a human. That's normally not how that works. So you have to have a formal language. And in this session, we are teaching Python. So Python is one example for such a formal language, but it's important to understand that there are many other formal languages of this kind, many other programming languages that also do the same thing. Python is just a specific one of those. Which now we can just dive right in with your first program, a Hello World program, which usually this is the first kind of program that one writes in a new programming language or when they first learn programming. And all it really does is print out Hello World to the screen. So when we're talking about printing, it doesn't mean that you have a physical printer that prints it out on a sheet of paper, but we're talking about displaying it on screen. We can go right ahead. This is the Hello World program. You can copy that into your notebook if you have managed to set it up. You can just go ahead and copy this code in here, and then you can run it. And after some time, after it worked, hopefully, you will see the output, which is Hello World. Exactly. So I would encourage everybody to get that working on their own machine to sort of have that, see that for themselves. Yeah, and if you have problems with that, please write in chat. And it's important to, if you, wait, I'm just gonna restart this. Maybe not everybody. You have to click on this code button here in order to create a new cell, which allows you to enter code that is executable, so Python. And then you can enter your first program and actually run it by pressing this button to the side here. Give everybody a bit of time to maybe try it out themselves, or if there are any troubles, please write it in the chat again. Okay, if there are no problems, then we can sort of move on, I think. Exactly. So this is so now that we have the program, I want to go back, take a step back, and consider the question why are we using Python? Because as I just told you earlier, there are many programming languages that we could use, but we've chosen Python. And there are many good reasons for doing so, because it's a comparatively easy to learn and use language, which doesn't mean it's easy to learn programming in general, but Python is a pretty good choice in terms of that. It's also a very widely used language, so if you're talking in terms of job opportunities, Python is a top contender. It's also many different areas in which you would find Python applied. And it also has a lot of concepts that are also relevant in other languages. So if you learn Python to a good degree, you will find it very easy to learn other programming languages after that, because the concepts have a big overlap. So yeah, it's a good starting point in that sense. Now, elaborating on the point I made earlier, that there are many fields or many industries in which Python is used. I'm just going to list some of the things that it's used for. For example, web development, where it's used by companies such as Instagram, Google, but also many other companies that use it. Then data science, which basically is about, well, working with large amount of data and drawing conclusions from there. Python is also very, very widely used in that field, and is almost the industry standard, where you rarely find any other tools used in there. And also a subfield of that is machine learning, which is a very hot topic right now, I would say. Another thing is natural language processing, which also kind of plays into this category, which is about understanding human speech or human writing, human text that humans produce. For example, if you have a Google Home or a Google Alexa, many of those sort of systems are often implemented in Python. Furthermore, one thing that's very useful, that Python is very useful for, is task automation. So if you have something on your computer that you want to do, let's say every hour, if you want to send an email every hour for whatever reason, Python would be a great candidate for doing that, because it has a good integration into those sorts of systems, and it's also quick and easy to write things in. And yeah, and there are also many other applications or fields of application that you can use Python in. This is by no means an exhaustive list, so yeah, but we can't really cover that all, because that would just get a bit boring. Okay, let's get back to the program we talked earlier about, the Hello World program. And let's kind of dissect that, because as you can see here, can you see when I select something? Darius? Does it?
Yeah, it's fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So what we see here, we can kind of break it down to smaller pieces. As you can see, we wanted to print Hello World. That's the goal of the program. And we can kind of recognize that this text Hello World also appears here. And this is obviously no coincidence, because what we're doing is just writing the string, or rather the text that we want to print out inside of these brackets here. And then this print, it just means, okay, hello Python, we would like you to display this on the screen. And then we write this text inside of here. It's important to notice that these quotation marks are here because they tell Python that we want to have this text as it is here and not as some other thing. More about that later. And the parentheses are also important. That's just how Python is written. Right. Okay. So now that gets us to our first exercise, which is basically for you to change the print statement, the program we've written so far, into printing your own name instead of Hello World. and we'll give you about 5 minutes in order to make that work. If you experience any issues with that, please feel free to say so. Okay, that's great. I'm gonna wait a bit longer, but very nice that. Okay, I'm gonna assume that everybody did that now, but I'm just gonna demonstrate just in case how one would do that. And for that, we already prepared a little document where we can enter in the solutions to the exercises. And here I'm just going to reuse the print statement, or the rather print program that we've seen previously. And then I'm just going to go into here and change this into Eric. Oops, that's okay. And now it should print out my name. And it's really just a matter of plugging in your own name here. But this is a very important concept in programming, that you can sort of switch out elements and kind of recombine them in new ways. That's really the power of programming, that you can switch out, for example, here this name for another one. And yeah, okay. So I think we can move on then and get into comments. Yeah, this is just a quick thing. Comments are basically things you can write into your code that don't do anything. Now this sounds really useless at first, but it's actually really helpful, because you can make comments about the code you're writing. And if you or another person will read through your source code and try to understand what is going on, it can be immensely helpful to have somebody who who knows about the code write something about it. And in Python, comments start with the hash symbol, and everything after the hash symbol just is ignored when the code is being executed. So if we maybe I'm going to start a new notebook to sort of give you some more examples. But I also have an example here. So if you look at this line, this will just don't do anything. This here, because there's no hash symbol in front of it, will get executed normally, like we've seen before. This is the exact same program we have before. And then we can also have a comment on the same line as some other code, as is here. And here, just the first part will be executed, but everything that comes after this this hash symbol just will be ignored. Yeah, and that's basically all you need to know about comments. It's not really a big thing, but we use them on some later slides, so it's just something you should be aware of. But you could just go ahead and delete all of this. Well, everything behind the hashes, and the program would just run the same. In fact, this is the exact same program as the one we just discussed earlier. Okay, now we get into numbers. Numbers is a very big topic. And numbers are essentially they're the same as in mathematics. Don't worry, we won't be getting into any sort of deep mathematics here. It's just really pretty basic elementary math. But some operators look a bit different than what we are used to, because they have to fit on a computer keyboard. So we start off with addition. That is really, really simple. And feel free to just go ahead and experiment a bit with it, because you can really just type in any sort of addition, and it hopefully will yield the right result. So, and then we also have subtraction, which works the same way, really. And they're very, very similar, really, to normal mathematics that you probably are used to. Same thing for multiplication and division, with the minor difference that you use this star symbol instead of the dot you might be used to, and you use this the forward slash instead of the vertical, or rather horizontal bar that you usually use for division. But other than that, they are exactly the same as in mathematics, just as the addition and subtraction. And the last thing in terms of operators for numbers that we would like to show is the exponent, which is a bit weird if you're not used to it. But this is 2 to the power of 3, and this is what you would write in. This is what you would write in like a mathematical notation. It's really just the same thing. It's just something I guess you have to get used to. And then a very important thing is that parentheses also work the same way as they do in mathematics. So if you have a calculation and you want to sort of do the addition first, you have to specify that by using the correct parentheses. And if this is all a bit much, I will go ahead and write some examples. So for example, if we want to compute 5 times 3 plus 4, but we want 3 plus 4 to be executed, we would have to put parentheses around this, because otherwise this would be multiplied first and then the 4 would be. This way we get the right result, which would be 35, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, which we can try and just don't use the parentheses, and then we'll get another result, because then those two are multiplied first. Okay. Let's go back to the presentation. Then we also have a small exercise for you now, which is calculating this expression here. And you do have to be careful with parentheses because it might otherwise not work in the way that you would expect. Yeah, and we're going to give you a few minutes now as well.
Yeah, I just sent you the link for the presentation. So if you don't remember how to do anything, you can just look back to the slides there. Hopefully everyone can join. I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's the correct answer you just wrote in the chat. I think, I hope. Yeah, but I'm going to demonstrate how it works now then in numbers exercise. So wait, let me just see real quick. 2 to the power of root. I'm going to put these into parentheses. We probably don't need them. But I mean, it doesn't hurt anyway. And then we have plus 4 divided by 5. But if you ran this, this would yield us the wrong solution because we forgot the parentheses around this. Let's see. Yeah, looks good. Okay, great. Then we can continue on to strings, which would be the next topic. Oops. Okay, here we go. So strings are sequences of characters or symbols that are between single quotes or double quotes. You can see them here. These are single quotes. This is one single quote and one quote. And to basically display it. And now we're going to cover some of the basic operations you can do with strings. One is concatenation, which is basically just appending the strings to one another, like combining two different strings. Here, for example, we have two separate strings, you can see, because they both have their own set of parentheses, single quotes. But when you use this plus operator, you join them together. I think it's kind of intuitive because you just like add them, so it's a plus. But it's not the same as the adding in a mathematical context of adding numbers. It's just adding the characters together. Yeah, that's how concatenation works. Then there's repetition, which repeats the same string for a number of times, and it's written by using the star, which is also used for multiplication. Having the number, then the star, and then a string. And it just, what it does is it repeats the same string for 5 times, which is the same as writing this here, as you can see, because it's essentially just adding 5 times. But it's a much simpler way to just write this with the repetition shown above. As you can see, because you just you save a lot of writing, you know. But as you can see, they have the same output. So if you run this, it produces 2 times the same output because they're equivalent. Yeah, so this is very important, that you cannot perform an addition between a string and a number, because Python looks at them in a different way. They're not the same thing. And as you can see here, if you have a string and a number, you can't do the addition because Python wouldn't be sure what you actually wanted. Do we want to add them in a number sense, that they're that you have the sum of them, or do you want to add them in the sense of strings, where you would have A5? So this is something that you might run into, and you can see here. This is how it looks when something went wrong in Python. You usually get an error message, which is sometimes more helpful, sometimes less helpful. But in this case, it is kind of helpful because you have, it says must be string, not int. Still stands for string, and int is an integer, so a number. So this just shows that there's a mismatch between having a number and a string. Something you have to be very careful with is this here on the left-hand side is also a string because you have the quotation marks. This will still not work because Python interprets this as a string and not a number, whereas this is a number. So this is also not possible to do because it's just very ambiguous for Python and wouldn't know what to do. Now we move on to the len function, which is a very often used function that just shows you how long the string is, whatever string you're using. So for example, here you see that the length of the hello exclamation mark is 6, which you can very easily justify just by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, it's pretty basic in that sense. Yeah. Another important topic is indexing. So we say that strings are indexed because every character in a string is basically assigned a number that you can reference it by. And the first index of any string is 0. As you can see here, this is how you would use an index, is just by writing square brackets behind the string, and then putting the index inside of that. So in this case, as you can see here, this prints out the h, which is this h here, because it's in the first position. But remember, the indexes always starts, or the indices always starts with a 0. So the first character is the 0th index. You can see here the third index would be 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's this L that gets printed out here. This is something that people usually struggle with when they learn programming for the first time. I'm sure, like I sure did myself. But it's just something you have to get used to. Yeah. Maybe I'm going to do some. I think it's fine. So we can get to our first exercise, or rather our exercise for strings, which is computing the last character in the string Python, which you can obviously do by looking at it, but we would want you to use the programmatic way in a program, because in some examples you might not know what the string actually is, so you actually need to use this, and you can't just tell by looking. We're going to give you a bit of time for this one as well. And again, feel free to ask for help if there's any difficulties. Okay, I think I'm gonna demonstrate how it works now. I hope you had the chance to try it yourself, but in the interest of time, let's just let me explain it. So we have the string Python, and we want to have the last letter. And in this case, we know that the string has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters. So we would have to access the 6th character to find out which one it is. But remember, with indexing, you always start with 0. So the last character is not the 6th character, but the 5th character. And sure enough, it works. It prints out the correct last character. Yeah. One thing I would like to show as well is what happens if you get it wrong. Okay, it's a 6. Then it gives you an error because the string only has 5 indices. So Python wouldn't know what to tell you what is at the 6th, because there is no 6th. And this is the error message: string index out of range, which makes sense because you have the index, and it's not in the range of acceptable indexes. And in this case, the acceptable indices, that right, are from 0 to 5, because 0 is the first one and 5 is the last one, as we discovered. Yeah, and this, in case you forgot, this is a comment. So it won't do anything, but I just put it here in order, like, for you to understand. Now it should work again. Okay. I think this is the part where Darius will take over and tell you more about other things.
Yeah, hi guys.
Stop sharing.
Okay, I'm gonna share mine. Okay. So I hope that so far everyone is really fine with everything that we did. And we're going to continue with another data type called booleans. So basically booleans, they're just like two values, true and false, and but obviously we can't do anything with them like this, so we're gonna have to use something else with these two values. And what we're gonna use are the comparison operators. So they're basically the same as you know from maths, with some few exceptions. The equal sign is gonna be written as a double equal. You're gonna see a bit later why it's a double equal, not an equal, a normal equal. The not equal sign is written as an exclamation mark and an equal. And yeah, the greater than sign is the same, and the less than sign as well. And the last two, the greater or equal than, you have to write an equal after the greater than sign, and same for less or equal than. And using this and the Boolean values, you can actually determine whether an expression is true. So for example, here I'm asking the computer to tell me whether 2 equals 4, and it's gonna print false because obviously 2 is not equal to 4. In this example, I'm checking if 2 is less or equal than 3, and it's gonna print true because 2 is less than or equal than 3, obviously. And same for not equal to, so 2 won't be equal to 2, obviously. Oh wait, yeah. And now using this thing, I will ask you to check if the length of your first name is greater than 8. So you basically have to use the len function, which are previously studied. And yeah, the strings and the booleans. So I'm gonna give you some minutes to do this now. Okay, so everyone good with this? Eric, what are they saying on the chat?
No new messages. What?
Oh, okay. Then I'm gonna prove this. So wait. So basically, you're asked to check if the length of your name is greater than 8. Oops. Okay, so basically, what we want to do now is to get the length of our name. Do by calling the len function that Eric previously showed. So basically, I'm gonna try my name here, Darius, and I have to check if this is greater than 8, obviously. And if I'm gonna run this, this is gonna give me false because Darius has only 6 letters, as you can see here. Yeah, like I can do anything here. Like for example, I can write a longer name, Alexandra. This is gonna be true because Alexandra's like the name is got like more than 8 letters, and I can do this with anything. Everyone is cool with this, or do you have any questions about it? Okay, I'm gonna move on. So big topic of programming is variables. Basically, they are used as containers in which we want to store some data value. So far we saw that any data type that we used, like numbers or strings, we just use them. We didn't like store them anywhere, but we would like to save them somewhere probably. And now I'm going to tell you how to create a data variable. And there are like certain rules. So a variable name can only contain some alphanumeric characters and or underscores. So basically, you can only create a variable name with the letters from A to Z, uppercase or lowercase, the numbers from 0 to 9, and very important, the underscore. So anything else is not allowed to create. Is not allowed. And a variable name cannot start with a number. So it always has to start with either a letter or the underscore. And also the variable names are case sensitive. So if I define 3 variables like age capitalized with capitalized A, and age with every letter capitalized, these are gonna store different values. So they're not the same thing, they're different. And when you create a variable, you have to assign it to a value, and which can be either a number, a string, or a boolean that we previously covered. And you have to use the operator equal. So you have to use a single equal for this thing. And also you can change the value of the variable at any time in your program. It doesn't have to be like fixed, it's not unique, you can even change it after. And I will show you now an example. So basically here, I declare the variable age, and I assign it to the number 20. I declared another variable called name _1, and I assign it to the string Darius, and I declared like a random variable with a random name, and I assign it to true, the boolean value. And here I'm printing the age, the name, and the other variable. And you can see here that what print does, after each comma, it adds a space, and it displays the variables right after. So when I'm executing this, I'm gonna get this result from here. So it's gonna be 20, Darius, and true. If I want to get every variable displayed on separate lines, I have to print them separately, and after each print, a space is gonna be added. An line is gonna be added automatically, as you can see here. So I printed age here, name 1 here, and age 23 as here. And at the same time, we can even combine like normal data types like values with variables. For example, here I can print like a string, and then after that I have to separate the variable with comma first, and I have to write it. So this basically would display this, and you can see here that a space was added automatically after this is. So the variables are not. This variable is not glued to the previous string. And I can even do something like this, like I can combine variables and strings in the same print function. It doesn't matter really, like it doesn't have to be like at the end or like in the beginning. It can be anywhere. And basically this function will return this here. Okay. And here I showed you like two examples that depict how to not declare variables. So here I tried to use like some other signs, like the $sign or the @ sign, and it didn't work. And you're gonna get a syntax error because of that. So pay attention. And the same when I try to declare a variable that starts with a number, I get the same thing. So yeah, don't do this. Remember, only letters, numbers, and the underscore. That's it. Another warning is that you don't have to mistake the single equal for the double equal, because the single equal, use it for assigning values to variables, as we previously saw. But the double equal is used only for checking whether an expression is true or not. Like it's gonna return a Boolean every time. So don't mistake these two things. It's very important. Here I can declare a variable a, and I can set it to 5, and then I can check if it's 5. So it's gonna print true. If I assign it to another number and I'm gonna run the same thing, it's gonna be false because a is obviously not equal to 5 now, because a is gonna be 7. And the variables, they keep the properties of the data type of the value that they are assigned to. What does this mean? Well, you can take this example. So I can assign a to 5 and b to 6, and then I can perform the same operations as with the variables. I can perform the subtraction, the division, and this thing is gonna print -1 because 5 minus 6 is -1. This is gonna print a over b, which is 5 over 6, which is this very long number. And at the same time, I can even change variables. I can add 2 to a here, for example, and it's gonna be 7. And I can add to b a plus b, which is gonna be 7 plus 6, 13. And if I print them after, this is gonna be the result. And if I want to print the variables, let's say before, Python will know that they are different. So at this moment, we didn't change a and b with anything. So it's going to take these results from here and it's going to print it here. But after changing them, they're going to be something else. And yeah, they're going to be changed. Another example would be how to perform operations with strings. So here I declare my first name, Darius, and my last name, Dragnia. And then I can do the same thing. I can print all of the variables, and I can see here that the comma adds a space. And it's going to print this. If I try to perform addition between them, it's not going to add a space. That's a problem. And this is the result here. I can also perform concatenation and repetition. Repetition, I just wrote concatenation. I can print the first name 3 times, and it's gonna return this thing. I can do something like this as well, like both of them combined, repetition and concatenation, and it's gonna print two Dariuses first, and then second time my last name, which you can see here. And you might ask, why are variables useful? Well, we already saw that you can save data and reuse it later in your program every time. You can even change them. And they also make your code more readable, and you can easily understand it if you see it for the same time. Like you can assign, you can call a value like with a specific name. For example, I called my first name. I called my name first name to understand that it's Darius. I didn't call it with another variable, and you know what that is actually. And at the same time, you can save space and time by writing less. And as an exercise, I would ask you to write a program that displays your first and your last name on the first line, how old you are this year on the second line, and how old you will be in 10 years on the third line. And you have to use variables to define your first name, your last name, and your age. So basically, I would like you to declare your first name, your last name, and your age. So you'll have to use 3 variables. And you will have to display this text from here by using those variables. It's very similar to the thing I already showed you, like to this thing, and also to this. Remember exactly like the commands and stuff. You can access the notebook that I just sent you. And I'll give you 5 minutes to do this. Oh, Eric, anyone writing in the chat or something?
No, nothing. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry. Oh, okay. There's somebody just joined. I'm not sure if you can see the link, but there is an online tool from Google that allows you to write Python online. I'm just going to print the or rather. But you do have to have a Gmail account in order for that to work. Okay, great. If you have any difficulties, please feel free to ask. And if you want to catch it later, we will also probably upload this the recording of this online. So if you want to watch that, you can feel free to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so did everyone try? So if you didn't manage to do it, I'll show you now how to do it. So I'm gonna go back here. So basically, at first you have to declare the 3 variables: your first name, your last name, and your age. Well, I'm gonna call my first name with this variable, first underscore name. The underscore is very used when you declare variables with multiple names. Like you just separate first from name. It's very useful. It's very used. And I'm gonna declare it. I'm gonna assign it to Darius. And my last name, Dragna, and my age, 20. Now I have to display on the screen my name is Darius Dragna. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the print function. My name is, and then I'm gonna use the comma to add the variable here. So it's gonna be first name and then another comma to add the second variable, last name. And hopefully this will work. Yes. And then I have to display the message, I am 20 years old this year. Again, the same thing, I'm going to use the print function. I will be. Then here I'm going to add the age. And then I can continue and write the other string. Years old this year. And it will be displayed here on the second line. And you can notice how Python added space after each comma, which is very useful. And now I have to display my age in 10 years. So how can I do this? Well, I can assign a variable, let's say age underscore 1. And what's my age gonna be in 10 years? Well, I have to add a 10 to my age, basically. This here first, and then I'm gonna print the result. So I will be here. I will add the new age variable that I created, age underscore 1. Then years old in 10 years. So yeah, after this command, the age is gonna be 30 because it's gonna add 20 to 10. And when I'm gonna print this, it's gonna give me the result. I'll be 30 years old in 10 years. I can do it in multiple ways. Like if I wanted, I could have just let the same variable to be. I could have just said age equals age plus 10. So I could have added the same 10 years to the variable that I already created. It's still fine if you don't want to use more variables. But usually it's better to use more variables because you want to distinguish between some things. So yeah. So that's basically it. If you have any questions about this, you can write it in the chat or you can just tell me. Okay, let's see how much time do we have left? All right. So basically, I wanted to cover the conditionals as well, but maybe like it's a bit too late, and I don't know like what people think. If you want me to cover this as well, but if it's too late, you can just feel free to go, and it's fine. I'm gonna cover this next time because we have a lot of material to cover, and it's a lot for only one session. So yeah. So if you want me to cover this, you can just tell me in the chat, and if not, we can just end here.
Yeah. Someone just said that they would like to hear it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I'm gonna continue then. So conditionals. We saw so far that every piece of code was executed line by line and in a sequential way. But what if actually you need the program to choose between the statements that are executed? As an example, let's say you're given two numbers A and B, and you want to check which one is bigger. We already know how to do it, but the thing is that we wouldn't want to display the true thing on the screen. We want a message or something, and how are we gonna do it? Well, first you need to use the comparison operators. But this, if you're gonna print this, it's gonna print true. And if you want a message, basically we have to use the if statements. And I'm gonna cover now the simple if statements. We've already given these two numbers, And now if we use the simple if statement, we do something like this. So I'm assigning the variables here, 10 to A and 7 to B. And then this is the statement. So basically it's called if, and I'm checking, basically what the program does is just checking if A is greater than B. And then you must add this colon here. This is the structure of the statement. And then, so if A is greater than B, then the program is gonna print this message. And yeah, if I run this, it's gonna show this on the screen. So again, what the program did was checking if A is greater than B, and if this value is true, then it's gonna print this on the screen. Yeah, simple enough so far. The second type of if statements is if-else statements. And yeah, let's say we change the value of A. Let's say we assign A to 5. And we can see now that A is not greater than B. So what this program is gonna do is just nothing, because it doesn't know what to do. It only executes this line if A is greater than B. So what are we gonna do in this case? Like, we don't know anything now. And yeah, the answer is the if-else statement. And how do you write this? Well, basically, you add this else right under the if, after the print, obviously. And you have to add the underscore as well. And yeah, let's say in this case, you're gonna print A is less than B, because what the program does again is it checks if A is greater than B. And if it is, if this returns true, then it's gonna print this message. But if this is not true, if this is false, it's gonna go on the else branch, and it's gonna return this. And you can see it on the screen, the message is returned, A is less than B. The exact thing that we wanted to. And yeah, here I can even change the value of A to 8. And it's gonna print the other thing. So yeah, you can put here like anything. But yeah, again, if I put here, let's say the string 2, I'm gonna have this because you can't compare a string and a number, obviously. So basically, this is how the if statement works. The if-else statement works as well, yeah. And now I'm gonna give you an exercise. So let's say n is a natural number, basically greater or equal than 0. And you have to check if n has only one digit or if it has 2 or more digits. And for each case, you have to display an appropriate message. And obviously, you have to use an if-else statement. So for now, you can just assign n to any number, and then you have to write the code to check this thing. And you can display anything for each case. I'm gonna give you like some minutes to do it. Okay, is everyone ready? And yeah, if you have any questions, you can just ask me. If you didn't manage to do it, and I'll show you it anyways. So, okay. I'll show it now. So basically, I told you that you are given a number n, which is natural, and let's say you assign it to, I don't know, to 7. You have to check if this has only one digit or if it has 2 or more digits. And we're gonna use the if-else statement. And first, what I want to do is to check if n has only one digit. And a number has only one digit, and basically when it's less than 10, obviously, because it can be from 0 to 9, but I already assumed that n is gonna be a natural number, so we already know that it's greater or equal to 0. So we're gonna have to check this for the first branch if it's less than 10, because only then it's gonna be like it's gonna have only one digit. I cried this as this as well, because if the number is less than 10, it's gonna be obviously less or equal to 9. So yeah.
چند سال پیش اینو فوتو اسپرتس کوکه پارسال که من گفتم بعد حتما پاش درد میکنه پاشو ماساژ دادم بعد دستم بوس کرد فهمیدم که این پاش درد میکنه.
Someone had their microphone. I just muted the person. So yeah. Okay, moving on. So as I said, when you check if n is less than 10, it's the same thing as saying that it's less or equal to 9. In this case, it's going to be a digit. N has got only one digit. One digit. And basically here, for the second case, when you have to write else, because what the program is going to do is it's going to check if n is less or equal to 9, and this is false. This means that basically, if this is false, n is definitely greater than 9, which means that n is definitely greater or equal to 10, which means that n is gonna have 2 or more digits, more digits, yeah. Here we can print a result, and it's got 2 or more digits. And if you run the program, it's gonna tell us that n has only one digit. And if we set this to a bigger number, let's say 20, it's gonna execute the second line and it's gonna print this. So basically, when this expression is false, this is gonna be completely ignored, skipped, and this is gonna be executed after the else statement, and it's gonna print this message. So yeah, this is how if else statement works, basically. If you have any questions about it. Oh. Well, if not, I hope we've been useful for you for this workshop, and we're gonna wait for you for the next one to join the next one as well. Just a reminder that we have a society Discord. You can join it by using this link. Eric, if you can copy and paste it in the chat.
Yes, sure. It will take me 1 second, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just to find the slide, sorry.
And we also have a channel there for the Python workshops, and I might even post some exercises for you to do, like over the winter break, let's say, because this is gonna be our last workshop of the year, and we're gonna continue from January probably because people want to go home or like a holiday, so you don't want to bother you that much for next week. And you have assignments as well as we have, so yeah. And another reminder would be to we'll ask you to fill in our feedback form about this session. We're gonna attach it to the chat.
What I'm sending now are the slides for this session. Contain everything we talked about today, but also a bit of more additional content that we didn't get to talk about now. And then I'm also going to share the feedback form, which we would be very happy if you could take the few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, to fill that out, because this has been our first event of this kind, and it would be nice to get some feedback on that. Okay, and I think that's about everything for today. Unless, Darius, do you have anything to add?
No, I think it's fine. So it's gonna be was our last event, and we're gonna continue from January. And stay tuned and look on Discord every time. We're gonna post stuff there probably during the winter break. So yeah.
Okay, then I would like to thank everybody who attended for attending, and hope to see you in the new year.
Yes. Hope to see you then, guys.